Hello and welcome to another episode of Lion and Liverbird. We are doing a slightly longer form podcast after a long time, primarily because nobody watches our long form videos, but everybody watches our shorts. But I think it's time to have a discussion, given how things are turning out for Liverpool this season, right? Champions last season, in a bit of trouble this season. So Liverpool have 6 wins and 6 losses in the Premier League, a perfectly split, widely inconsistent season. There were obviously big expectations from last season, them being champions, but performances have dropped, right? So we'll discuss why. And one of the points, stick around, because one of the points is basically, will Slot survive this season or will he get fired? And this specific manager from a top team is turning out to be a surprise contender for the Liverpool role. So stick around and let's get into it, Adeem. So I think first of all, let's start off with how you're feeling, like maybe a quick rundown on how you're feeling after being champions last season.
The feeling's kind of weird because you started the season with so much expectation and hope. After all the signings came in, obviously we'll talk about Diogo Jota and the impact that had of his tragic passing after a little while later. But the overall feeling at the start of the season was we built something already last season. You're just adding more firepower. I mean, we spent hundreds of millions on Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak. We got an amazing right back or right wing back in Frimpong. Kerkez is an amazing attacker. Ekitike started the season on fire. He had potential to be one of the best forwards, and then everything just trailed off. And the worst feeling right now is that it all feels so helpless. Like you can't do anything. Like whatever Arne Slot is trying to do or not doing, nothing changes. You know what the pattern of play is gonna be. You know how the game is gonna be. The opposition will get one shot, it'll go in, and then it all falls apart. And the thing is, he's repeating the same thing time and time again and hoping for a different result. It doesn't work like that. You need to make changes. And that's a little weird because last season, when things weren't clicking for us, like at halftime, he would hook off a player and bring somebody else on, or he'd make a gamble and substitute a defender for a midfielder. This season is just, I'll pull everybody off and I'll put all my attackers on and let's hope something happens. And there's just like, it's just so disheveled. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Has Arne Slot completely lost it? Or it's very difficult to pinpoint one exact problem with this Liverpool side. And I think that's the major concern.
Yeah, I think you brought obviously quite a few important points, right? And I think we wanted to, put the main kind of caveat out there that obviously Diego Jota's tragic demise will be playing a big role, right? A lot of these players are going through, the loss of losing not just a teammate but a very good friend. I think Andy
Yeah.
Robertson, after Scotland qualified, he basically broke down and he talked about it, right? So I think that's definitely at play here. So we just wanted to put it out there. And then quickly, let's talk about the signings, right? Because you brought it up, Adin, right? You guys spend like a massive amount of money, a record spending summer. But I think from the get-go, even I was feeling like some of these signings did not make sense. Like, for example, why do you need Isak and Ekitike both, right? Similar players when you have other areas of the pitch that could need reinforcement, right? Primarily your defense and midfield, right? So do you think Richard Hughes, your technical director or sporting director, kind of blew it this season, or what do you think about that?
So Richard Hughes' talk, right, is like a sine wave. I hope I'm getting that right from physics. It goes like this, right? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I hope I didn't forget that. So last season we were all blasting Richard Hughes for not getting the Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk deals done. Then we said, "Oh, what a great move! We've got Trent and Salah. Sorry, Van Dijk and Salah, and now we're getting all of these big name players. Like Isak is a sensational player. Ekitike is a potential world beater. Kerkez was great for Bournemouth. Frimpong the same for Leverkusen, and Florian Wirtz also." What I fail to understand is, as you rightly said, that why have we got such players? And there doesn't seem to be a plan to fit them in. So we've never played with the number 10, right? Whereas Florian Wirtz is a number 10. He's a proper number 10 attacker. Or he plays down the left. Slot doesn't use him like that. He's barely played him as a left winger. And he's got Cody Gakpo there who does, we call him the Sasta Aryan Robin, who just cuts in and hopes something happens. So I think there is a bit of blame, obviously, on Richard Hughes' part, but I think a lot of blame also goes on Arne Slot because surely if Slot saw that there are problems in the defense and the midfield, we would have moved for somebody. Did he not push Richard Hughes enough for that? Because going into a season with Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister as your two holding defensive midfielders, as you would say. It's crazy. And you know he doesn't like Wataru Endo at all. So that's crazy. The other part I don't really understand is how, and we will obviously discuss a little further, is how he has deployed some of the players in the tactics. So,
Yeah, I think let's get into the tactics, right?
mm, mm,
But before that, I think one of the things I want to point out is when you guys were buying all these players, right? Especially these wing backy players,
mm,
Frimpong on one side and Kerkez on the other. It almost seemed like, hey, you guys are trying to build a back five with wing backs
true.
and like multiple number tens, Wirtz in that role. So the tactical confusion comes from there, right? Like you said, buying these players who don't really fit your current system, and that's what we're seeing on the field.
So again, this is also crazy. So one reason we did not sign or bring Ruben Amorim in is because he wanted to play that back five, back three system. Now Slot wants to do that, which I think kind of makes sense because last season we had Jurgen Klopp's blueprint and Slot just made some tweaks and we won the title. This season, maybe he was trying to set something up, but then he started the season in the same formation. We did not get Mark Gahey, and then we also saw Giovanni Leone pick up a nasty injury and he's out for the rest of the season. So, but then we didn't start the season with three center backs, right? We started the season with the flat back four, and it's so crazy because tactically, when you sign Isak, Wirtz, and Ekitike, all three should start because they're such big names. So, were we planning for the future and brought these players in now because we could? If we did that, then obviously we have to play them, but we don't play them. We're still playing Mohamed Salah, who's had a kind of terrible season. Let's be honest. Virgil van Dijk is making mistakes. And this is what I said. It's just so many things are happening, and it feels so like everything's just falling apart. Uh, I don't know. You talk about tactics. We'll bring about tactics right now, right? Kerkez is somebody we've seen who bombs down the left, goes up and down, crosses the ball. He's energetic. You'll see him in games. He's actually playing somewhere in midfield. You're not utilizing his best attributes. It's the same with Wirtz. You're not giving him the ball to create stuff. Same with Isak. People have been criticizing him and saying that he got, I think, what, 8 touches of the ball in a last match where we lost. But the funny thing is, if you're not going to supply him with the through balls, with the balls over the top, with crosses, he's not going to create something in the middle of the opposition penalty area, right? So it's just a little off. I don't know what's going on, right?
So I think, yeah, that's a good segue, right? I think you talked about players being out of form, which we've obviously seen, but then it comes down to Slot not being able to fit in these pieces. Like you say, he's not being able to empower the players. So what do you have to say about Slot, and
Yeah.
what is
So
this season showing you about him?
So that's another critical point because when we signed Florian Wirtz, every Liverpool fan I knew came out and said we don't use that kind of a player in our system. We've never had it. I think the last time we had somebody like that was a Felipe Coutinho, and then he used to play down the left at times. So we don't do that system. We bought Florian Wirtz in, and I remember there was this discussion, or I read somewhere that Arne Slot showed Florian Wirtz, how he's going to play him, how he's going to feature in this Liverpool side, and that is what sealed the deal. That's why Wirtz came to Liverpool rather than a Man City or a Bayern Munich. So what did Slot show him? Because it's certainly not showing on the pitch. Wirtz hasn't done anything great. Obviously, he's had a couple of decent games. I'm not saying he's been terrible, but he has no assist to show for that apart from the the Community Shield game, the first goal that Hugo Ekitike scored. So what Slot did, I don't know because right now his management of the team is akin to me managing this Liverpool side. I have zero experience, but I'd probably do the same thing that he does. And then when I go a goal down, I'll just put Federico Chiesa up top and Hugo Ekitike comes on top, and every attacker goes on and I take off a defender because
Hmm.
that's what he does now, unfortunately.
So I think
No, sorry,
the
sorry. So
next
just
question.
one more
Yeah,
thing I
yeah.
just wanted to bring up about Slot, and I think maybe this is the reason is that last season, people said that he's using the club blueprint and then tweaking it and getting it done. Maybe this season he was trying to do something a little different. Play Ryan Gravenberch a little forward. Alexis McAllister does not look like the same player because I think he's doing a different role. And trying to put his stamp on this team has not worked as he might have expected. The other thing I think and I fear is that maybe this job is a little too big for him. Sure, he won it last season, but that could have been because you had the club blueprint again. The players were pushing because it's a new season, and the other teams did fall apart. Let's be honest. And we fell apart, if you remember, right after that PSG loss at Anfield, right, on penalties. We've been terrible. We've not been that good. I think I read somewhere that we've lost 47% of our games after that defeat. That's terrible. That's a terrible statistic or something. So it's not like this hasn't been coming. This has been coming for a long time. And now it's just that Arsenal have finally decided to push on and City are looking better than last season. And even Chelsea, for that matter. We are below Everton and Manchester United. Can you imagine that? Manchester United, we were mocking them last season. And they are better than us, at least
So
on the table.
yeah, so I think let's talk about it, right? So is Slot's job in danger, do you think? Does he have enough goodwill from the win last season? Or if, things don't improve, how much time would you give Slot?
So Slot's been given the dreaded vote of confidence by the board already. They say that no, no, it's fine. He has time to work on whatever he did. And obviously, he will have goodwill because winning the Premier League. So it wasn't a fluke that he won the Premier League, right? You don't win the Premier League out of sheer luck. So I don't think that's the issue. The issue is that he has time, I think. But what I've been reading is that he might have time till January to fix stuff because missing out on the Champions League is a huge loss for a club like Liverpool. We are in this position because we did so well in the Premier League, we've done well in the Champions League, we've saved money to spend. You miss out on Champions League football, you'll miss out on millions from sponsorship deals. Like Manchester United missed out with the Adidas deal because they missed out on the Champions League. So there will be pressure on Slot. Right now, it's not showing because it's still what we played 12 games in the season. You still have another 24 games left, right? No, sorry, 26 games left. So he can turn it around. Your top four finish is possible. We're still in the Champions League, but the pressure is mounting on him for sure. And frankly, the scary part is that there has been no improvement ever since we lost that game against Crystal Palace. There has been absolutely zero improvement in this side. We've actually digressed. We play terrible football now. It's all long balls. Hopefully, that something happens from somewhere. There's no creativity. It's very static, and there's no desire from the players to win that second ball. You might lose the first ball. That's fine. You're not physically strong sometimes against the opposition, but there is no desire to run and get the second ball to make that tackle. Is this spark missing, and I don't know how Slot can bring it back.
Okay, so let's talk about maybe what happens if Slot can't bring it back, right?
Oh,
So who are the contenders to replace him,
so
if January comes around and you guys haven't improved?
yeah, so there are a lot of interesting things that's happening. So I've been reading stuff like Julian Nagelsmann could be a replacement for Slot, but the problem is he will not come until the World Cup is done. So do you keep Slot till so you do keep Slot till the summer and see out the season and hopefully avoid relegation because we're in relegation form right now. And like imagine if in January we are 15th or 16th, just 3 or 4 points off the relegation spot. You won't keep Slot. No team will keep that manager. They will replace him. So who do you bring him in the interim? Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp obviously can't work under the system, the structure that we have, but maybe he could do the job for 8 months to keep us safe. But the big name, and this is what you alluded to at the start of the podcast, is Xabi Alonso. Now, everybody knows that Xabi Alonso was supposed to be the one to replace Jurgen Klopp and how he did at Leverkusen, but then he went to Real Madrid, and despite being top of the table in La Liga, he's under tremendous pressure. And apparently, his relationship with the players has broken down completely. I read somewhere that Vinicius Junior does not want to sign a new deal because of Alonso. So he would be a good replacement. Obviously, it makes sense. He has already quite a few players that he knows, Frimpong and Wirtz. The outside bet, and this is a really interesting one, is Iraola from Bournemouth. Richard Hughes knows him very well, obviously, but I don't know if Liverpool fans would want another manager who hasn't managed a top club or has dealt with, those big egos. So
Mhm.
that's one. And
So
yeah.
Just a quick point about, I mean, of course, the Alonso one is a pretty big deal, right? If you guys get him, that'll be drama, pure drama, right? But I think the Iraola one, I think the Thomas Frank thing that's happening in Tottenham is
Mm,
going to give you pause, right? These
mm.
managers who do well with smaller clubs, when they come to bigger clubs, their ideas don't work because a lot of the opposition team just sits back, right? And Iraola is all about like kind of heavy metal football, so to speak, just all action, which is not going to happen. Everybody's going to sit back. And then, do you really trust Richard Hughes enough to, get Iraola? Because part of this, we already talked about it. Richard Hughes is to blame.
So it's not just Richard Hughes to blame, right? We've got to blame the entire structure. Who else was there who was planning this Liverpool team? And because it's not Slot who planned the summer transfers. It's Michael Edwards and the rest of the guys. So I don't know what their plan was. Like, was it to play two attackers and then have a diamond behind or something? Because there
So,
is a breakdown in communication somewhere. Because if this happens in a this thing MNC or a conglomerate, you
yeah.
will be fired already because
Yeah. So I like that you brought up Michael Edwards. My inkling is, he's become CEO of football. He had nothing to do with the summer because this summer did not feel like a Michael Edwards summer. And you know it, right? You've had him for so long. This seemed like what's going on kind of summer. But anyway, so I think, yeah, so the big call there is, does Xabi Alonso get sacked at Real Madrid and ends up at Liverpool somehow? Let's see. And I think one quick thing I wanted to touch upon, Adeem, is your thoughts on you obviously losing out Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? Who's amazing, but not just him. Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunes, right? Luis Diaz is doing great in Bayern Munich, and he was good for you last season. And Nunes, for all of his shortcomings, he scored some crucial goals last season, right? He brought that physicality, that kind of hard-toothed kind of center forward play. How much are you missing these three?
so Trent is, I think, still a big miss because he could set attacks and he would put those through balls. And we saw the passing ability, the range that he has. Nobody in, I think, world football has that kind of ability right now. So keeping him in the team would have been good for us. Sure, he was defensively liable at times and wasn't and he had lapses, but that's a different story. And he's struggling at Real Madrid. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back to us in January. Who knows with Javi Alonso? You never know. Regarding the Diaz one, I think this was a deal that made sense for all parties because we kept him and we were not giving him a new contract. He wanted to move. I'm happy he's doing well at Bayern Munich. I think he's in sensational form, and we got good money for him. But the Bundesliga is not the Premier League. So
But just to stop you there, he was your second highest scorer last season, man.
true,
Like,
true.
and you've
But
not really replaced him. Yeah,
true, but he was wildly inconsistent, wildly.
agreed.
And
Yeah,
the problem with him was that he would do this Joga Bonito stuff and there was no end product. Thankfully, at Bayern and in the Bundesliga, there's more space for him and it's a
agreed.
little less intense, so it's fine. He himself said that it is less intense, so that's one. Nunes, so for all the lack of quality in the final third and his temperament and his consistency, etc., he was going to give 100% on the pitch. That was always there. He would run his socks off. He would barge into defenders. He would do the center
Yeah,
forward stuff. As I said, that desire, that hunger is not there in this Liverpool team from anybody.
yeah.
So we are
I
missing
think,
that. Like that
I
hunger
think
is.
ideally, at least for me, right, if you have Ekitike, keep Nunes. Don't spend like that insane amount of money on Isak and go get a midfielder and a
Yeah.
defender. I think
And there
that
were
solves a lot of
midfielders
your
available,
problems.
right? You had defenders and
Yeah,
midfielders available. We talked about Adam Wharton for so long. He was
yeah,
there. Carlos Baleba, he almost went to Manchester United. You could have got
yeah.
him.
Elliot
So
Anderson is also
Elliot
having a
Anderson.
great
So
season. Yeah,
you can't say that there wasn't money to spend and there weren't
yeah.
targets available. So it makes this summer started off as a 10 on 10 and then it just petered down. And then I think the biggest loss was the Mark Gahey one. Uh, Maybe we could have done that. And just to round things off regarding the team, etc., and Slot. I do not understand why does he stick to the same team all the time. He expects something different to happen. Why are you still playing Mohamed Salah? Granted, he's a legend, greatest Premier League player ever. But when he's out of form, when he's not doing well, when the system isn't working for him, either you tweak the system to make Salah the focal point like he did last season, or you take him off the firing line. Chiesa is sitting there. he doesn't get a start for whatever weird reason. Konate has been making mistakes almost every single game, worse than Jarel Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa was sold. Play Gomez. He's there. Virgil van Dijk and Gomez were a great pair, I think, 3 or 4 years back. The same goes for our left back situation, right? If you know Kerkez is still adjusting, play Robertson. For the right back, we have two crocs. Frimpong is injured and sorry, this guy is injured. Bradley, right? So we bring in Calvin Ramsey, who does so well in one of the games, and you want to play him, you should play him, and then Slot doesn't play him. So if you're not going to play players who are in form, I don't know what you're going to do. He plays Soboslai as a right back, despite Soboslai being our best midfielder this season. It just baffles me as to why he does this now. What's gone wrong with it? This is like that Cinderella story, right? The clock has struck 12 and everything's turning into a pumpkin and all that's gone down the drain. Like Cinderella time's over. It's over.
The
Finished for him.
slot pumpkin, his head is also like a pumpkin. Anyways, I clearly see your frustration coming through. So, listeners, please let us know, Liverpool fans, how frustrated are you with Slot? How frustrated are you with Richard Hughes and the summer, that just happened? And what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Slot just needs time and he should get, beyond January? Or do you think January should be like a hard stop? And if it looks like you guys are missing out on the Champions League, you should fire him? And what do you think about the pipe dream of Xabi Alonso,
Oh,
coming back? So let us know what do you think. And then, as usual, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our shorts content. We make shorts content regularly now, and then let us know, how you liking those as well. With that, we're signing off, and have a good Thanksgiving for folks in the US, and bye bye.
yo, bye bye.